If you grill it, he will come.
Hey.
Hey.
Is this heaven?
Nope. It's Fareway.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
My wife and I went to go see Hamilton on Broadway.
It Ain't Right Tour 2024.
Oh my God, it is amazing. We saw it. Oh, it changed me it changed me. Now, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, I ain't gonna like this.
Sebastian Maniscalco, live on stage in Des Moines, Wells Fargo Arena, December 15th, 2024. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit sebastianlive.com.
A fuel choice that even rivals can agree on? Now that's worth the hype. Cheaper, cleaner, and homegrown. Pump it up with unleaded 88.
Two guys, two Chris's, one network. Iowa Everywhere. It's time for Two Guys with Chris Williams and Chris Hassel. Presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery from the Channel Seed Studios. Where? Everywhere. Live and always on demand at Iowa Everywhere.
After dark. Two guys, Chris and Chris. What's going on, Hassel?
Are you all right? You're acting like you're high. You got a smirk on your face.
I'm not high.
He chugged a gallon of Pre.
I'm laughing at all of our commenters.
Yeah, I am too. The comments, even before we started, were already raging. Just raging. Got one here from the made-up source of Iowa football. It says, Williams just ingested 96 ounces of Fareway meat and 2 low T shots to dominate woke Maddie tonight. Ryan says, hey, remember when Hassel begged for Iowa just to be the 99th best offense in the country, thinking that would make them an elite team? Well, they're 102nd, and they're 4-3. Oof. Yeah, well, I also did not mean that the defense could suck if the offense got better, or that the passing game would still suck, and that's what we have right now.
It's two guys after dark, Chris and Chris with a splash of Van Winks. We are, because Hassel, he's a big television star, big national television personality, and when the bosses at CBS call and say, God damn it, we need more of you, two guys gets bumped.
So the reason is twofold, actually,
night.
And you're going to like one of the reasons. The main reason is there's no HQ spotlight on CBS Sports Network tomorrow. There must be soccer or something. I don't know. So my show is at 11 Central. But also, I have a 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time blood draw.
Uh-oh.
This is my usual once every 6 months. No, it's my doctor. Oh. Every 6 months to a year, do a blood draw, do a physical. But you know what I did this time? I called him up. I said, I want you to add the big T to the test.
Why didn't you just let the folks at Game Day do it?
Because I'm going to kill two birds with one stone here.
So, God's honest truth.
So if they tell me, Williams, that I've got low T, I will march my fanny on down to Game Day and see what's up.
Mr. Hassel, you have 0 T.
I actually just had my physical like a week and a half ago. Blood, I was so horribly going in the wrong direction like last April. And it's probably the worst time to draw my blood because I've been on the tournament trail for like 6 weeks and I've just drink every night. And
that's when you were hiding that huge bowling ball inside your gut.
Yes. And my doctor said to me, he goes, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Because my numbers were like so much better.
I think
so there you go.
When I went in there with you to game day, they did your little test, but didn't you have like extremely high? You did. I remember now. It's all coming back to me.
Yeah,
you had extremely high blood pressure.
Well, it's because of Keith and Andy.
That's what it is. I'll tell you, I listened to their show today, and it was really pissing me off. I wanted to get in there so bad. Andy talking about Bronny, like, well, maybe LeBron didn't have anything to do with it, and Bronny's just that good. And then Andy saying,
Come on.
Oh, it's not a bad look when all those Cyclone fans go out at halftime and drink and shotgun stuff and miss part of the second and third quarter. It's not a bad look at all. What are you talking about? It's a terrible look.
We need to start, now that we've got them kind of settled here in the network and everything's good.
Yeah, we need to have some crossovers.
We got to do some crossover shows. The fans want that. We've been getting requests. I think it could be a hell of a lot of fun. We could do like the Brady Bunch, like 4 of us just, I think it could be a really good time. So anyways, when I was super stressed out when you were with me at game day because we were trying to get
a very stressful time.
Nothing was public yet, and we were trying to get advertisers lined up. We were trying to get all this stuff done, and then I am not high. Everybody's asking me if I
you seem high. You came on and you were like a kid that stole something and couldn't hide your wry
I was
smile.
laughing at the commenters because they act like, oh, these guys are going on at night. They're just gonna like do a porno because like my God,
do a porno?
I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? Just because the show, what is it, night?
I might fondle a leaf or two.
You might. No, when we were at game day, my blood pressure was just, and I was like, yeah, I think this will come down. I promise you, I think this will come down, and it did. It's really good now. So there you go.
So that means Keith and Andy aren't giving you as much shit as they were before?
Oh, they always are giving me shit. Keith and Andy. Love those guys. So, yeah, we will not obviously be live on Thursday, but you can listen to the show, watch the show on demand, wherever you get your podcasts. I have a weird time even just calling this a podcast anymore because we're so much more than that with everything we're doing here. It is a podcast in certain forms, but we are quickly, I believe, going to be a bigger YouTube show than a podcast before too long. For most of these shows on the network. So if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, we would appreciate that.
My favorite thing to do right now is when Murph and Andy, I work from home a few days a week. I have that smart TV, so I use the YouTube app.
Yes,
I just load up the YouTube app and I watch it while I'm working.
Absolutely. That's how I
have figured out, thanks to Van Winks, that there is a way you can listen audio only on YouTube. Like if you're trying to listen to us live and you don't want to watch, there is a way to do it. It's a little bit complicated. You have to kind of like pull us up on YouTube, get out of the app, but keep the the little picture-in-picture thing going.
You just minimize it. You just swipe up so it's the little square, and then you close your phone while it's playing, and then you just hit play again while you close your phone.
Yeah, because it'll stop it as soon as you close your phone, but then if you do this little thing here where the thing up in the corner where it and then you press play again. I mean, it's like I figured it out. If I can figure it out, anybody can except my dad.
Hard.
But and also another thing that I don't think a lot of people know. We've talked about this a couple of times, but I'm still hearing from people that are like figuring this out on the fly. Let's just say you jump in, or you want to start listening to a show live, even though they started, us or Murph and Andy or whoever, legends and listeners, they started 45 minutes earlier or whatever. You pull up YouTube, scroll that thing back to the start, and go from there. And you can pause whenever you want. What are you laughing at now?
Comment. Chris wants to know if I'm going to glue Oreo crumbs at the top of my head. Like that friend of yours. He's trying to show off that he had pubic hair.
Okay.
That he
got
didn't
to do what you
actually
got to
have.
do, man.
He's that Arkansas fan, right?
No, that is not. No, that's John. That's my best friend from high school. John did not do the Oreos.
Gotcha. Well, you can buy Oreos.
The Oreo kid is a Hawkeye fan through and through.
That makes a lot of sense. Probably could have guessed that without you even telling me. Fareway Meat and Grocery. We are. I'm going to be smoking ribs this weekend. We got the big trick or treat extravaganza in Bondurant because we don't do Beggars Night. We don't do that garbage.
Yeah.
We
So
do
when
real
is that
trick or treat.
dumbass Beggars Night for you guys this year?
Well, I don't know. But ours is on Saturday night because we like to party here in town, and all the parents get fire pits and moonshine and just get really drunk, and all the kids.
I
walk
thought the
around
whole
town.
thing about not doing Beggars Night was actually trick or treating.
No, we
on
do ours.
Halloween.
We do ours the Saturday before, and it gets nuts.
But isn't
absolutely crazy?
Beggars Night? Don't they a lot of times do that on?
They
every
do the
weekend?
night
Every
before.
town picks their own night, don't they?
God.
Yeah. So
Different-
then we always go to
Ankeny has a different night.
We always go over to Ankeny. We're gonna triple hit all these towns, man. We are loading up.
I hate Halloween. I really do.
You're such a loser.
We were actually, the wife and I were walking the dog tonight, and we were trying to figure out our plans for Halloween. And what do we do? Do we
You're just gonna leave.
Try
so you
to
don't
hand
have
out
to give-
candy? Do
Yeah,
we
I know
shut
you.
everything up and go into the back room and ignore everything? Or what we were gonna do is we were just gonna go out to eat because it's a Thursday. It's my Friday. A lot of times we'll go out to eat Thursday anyway. But then we're like, oh, we can't leave the dog behind. I mean, we can't leave her to deal with all those trick-or-treaters and barking and seeing all those ghouls and goblins out there. So I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we do have a bag.
The kids in Florida dress like ghosts
my-
and goblins. I feel like they'd
it's-
be more like elitist type outfits.
I don't know. I don't know what the big popular outfit is this year, but people in our neighborhood go absolutely bonkers for Halloween. The decorations out there right now they rival Christmas time, and on Halloween, people just go crazy. Like every fifth house will have a huge blowout, and they'll rent like a food truck and an ice cream truck. It's crazy. It really is the wildest night of the year.
That's
here.
wild. I mean, all of my street has Halloween decorations, including me. I have like 6 things blown up out there. But yeah, we don't do like food trucks. We all just get fire pits out and get drunk.
You get drunk as you're taking the kids around to trick or treat.
Absolutely. Yeah, we all walk around with moonshine in our Yetis. Yeah, absolutely.
Was bobbing for apples a thing when you guys were a kid?
No, hey, my
Not
kids
on
bobbed
Halloween.
they bobbed for apples a couple weeks ago at a party.
The only time I ever saw the bobbing for apples thing was at like the Mississippi Valley Fair. You'd walk through there and they're, hey, come over here, bob for apples. And it'd be like a group of 5 kids with their heads underwater in the same bucket. I never did it.
Sounds really dangerous the way you described it. Like they're just
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what it is? Isn't that what bobbing for apples is? They put apples in a bucket and then you have to stick your face down in it and try to wrap your teeth around it and pick it up?
I think so. I mean, I haven't done it in 30 years, so
I've never done it.
yeah. Anyways, there's something going on. I got to stop reading this chat cuz it's going to ruin the show. Something
It's
about
different
the
at night.
Kabursky brothers. Like there's all these people about the dadgum Kabursky brothers
Yeah.
hitting on all the moms on Halloween night.
Is that their thing?
There's multiple comments about the Kabursky brothers and the Hawk 2 girl.
What?
And it's just I got to quit reading these things or I'm not going to be able to focus on the show. We have a big Iowa Northwestern game
Oh, God.
to preview. We're going to talk
I
some
can't tell you the last time I have been less excited for a Big Ten football game involving Iowa than this one.
Really? Well,
the season's over, man. There's nothing they can do to make this season a success.
if they go 9-3,
But
they're not going to. But if they
no, but even if they do, that to me, the way they have done it, unless it includes like Wisconsin beats Penn State this week and they come in as a ranked team and you beat your rival in a ranked game like that, because there aren't any games that can save a season.
That Nebraska shit the bed last week too. Like that makes it worse.
That if Iowa had a Penn State or a Oregon or an Indiana or maybe even an Illinois on the schedule, there would be things to look forward to, because no matter how bad your season is, and it's bad, you can always make a major memory, a defining moment, if you pull off one of those big upsets. Iowa State against Oklahoma State, back in whatever that was, 2012.
Yeah.
Iowa against Ohio State in 2017. Iowa against Michigan in 2016. The remaining schedule is Northwestern, Wisconsin, UCLA, Maryland, and a Nebraska team that's going to get beat by 30 again this week against Ohio State. It just doesn't give you any opportunities to prove, well, maybe they are a better team than we think they are.
Got the Brian Ferentz Bowl, November 23rd.
That's what you're looking forward to?
That's the big one.
Maryland is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten.
Here's the other problem, too. I was thinking about this with Iowa. So let's say that they, like in some crazy world, they'll put in Sullivan. And Kirk Ferentz comes out and says, hey, we're going to build to next year.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing, Williams. That would make things a lot more interesting than they are right now.
I agree.
If they would do things like that. But do you really think Kirk Ferentz is going to do that?
No, but even if he did, it's so not like that, though, because of the portal, right? Like,
true.
You could be doing that and then have a completely different team.
But I
better
100% believe Sullivan is going to be the quarterback next year, unless he gets so pissed from not getting a chance this year.
What the hell is
that he jumps
wrong
into
with this
the portal.
Linus guy? Like, I mean, wasn't he supposed to be good when he came in?
Was he? I don't know. They
like,
all come in kind of
like
the same.
Average guy from Northwestern just all of a sudden like the future.
Well, because they went and got him in the portal, and he has Big Ten starting experience, and they clearly brought him in as the number 2 this year. So that tells you what they think about the younger guys.
God, like, how are they so bad at recruiting these guys? Because every time these guys, like Labus was like, Petrus was like a 4-star guy.
He's lighting it up at Utah State.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
It's just, like, how is this Sullivan's just like, oh, yeah, he's the next guy?
Well, some people believe that Kirk Ferentz is closer to making a change than others. Take a listen to what Ferentz said this week at Hawkeye Media Availability.
An extended look in the game.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing is it's easier to talk about putting somebody in a game than just doing it, especially at that position. We've seen enough, I think, good things out of Cade to feel like he gives us our best chance out there. So that's really. It's like any position, although this is obviously there's more eyes on this position. But I think he's done enough good things where we have confidence that he'll play well Saturday, and we'll also keep an open mind. You have to, and we can't. We have to do better than we did the first 30 minutes the other night. We can't wait till the second half to start going here. So we'll keep an open mind, but I have confidence in both of them, quite frankly, and. When Brennan gets an expanded role, or if he gets an expanded role, I think he'll do well.
That was a Chad Leistico question, I believe, to Kirk Ferentz, and Chad is one of the people who he kind of calls it decoding Ferentz, having covered this team for as long as he has. Ferentz will never come out and just say exactly what he's thinking, or at least not often.
Yeah, because these coaches lie all the time.
Yeah. But Chad and others believe that cover the team, believe that Ferentz is a lot closer now to making a quarterback change than he has been.
Well, that Todd Blackledge the other night was all over.
Yeah, he was. He was ready to come in third possession. I don't believe Kirk Ferentz is really considering making the move. I do believe, and I have felt this way really since after the CyHawk game, that if Kade really struggles and Iowa is getting beat by multiple scores, the fans are booing, I think he might make a move in the second half. Or if he's turning the ball over a bunch. See, I think that's the one thing with Kade. He hasn't really had a first half where he's turned the ball over a bunch. He had the horrible interception in the second half last week when he had kind of got things together a little bit. It was the Ohio State game where he had all those turnovers, but that happened in the second half. If he throws 2 picks in the first half and Iowa's down by 2 scores, I think that is a scenario where we see Sullivan. But the competition that they're playing against is not very good. Northwestern is not a very good team. Do we really think Northwestern's going to be able to put Iowa and Ferentz in that position where a change would need to be made? I don't. And as Turner points out, I 100% am with you on this, Turner. He says, regardless of when Sullivan comes in, it is now too late. And I am 100% on board with that. That's what I've been thinking all week, because this season is a loss. Whatever Sullivan comes in to do, for me, is for next season. Whether Iowa finishes 7-5 or 9-3 really makes no difference to me. Look, I'm going to be rooting for them. I want them to beat their rivals, Wisconsin and Nebraska. But like those seasons with this schedule, with the expectations that they had, and to already be absolutely 100% eliminated from playoff and Big Ten title contention this early is unacceptable.
This is the danger of the playoff or bust scenario, right?
Right. But look,
I kind of feel like Iowa State's
Williams,
there
I wasn't
right
one
now.
of the people that had that.
I know.
But even I, who predicted them to go 9-3, and we're going to redo the W and Ls for both Iowa and Iowa State on this show, now that we're both wrong on both sides. This is just not a 9-3 season that you could be proud of if they get there. If you ask me right now. Even if they do that, which I don't think they will.
If Iowa State went 9-3 now, would it be a bust?
Yes. Right now? Yes.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking like how.
Yes.
How
if you're
things
picking it up
change,
right
how
now,
things-
you know that
how
they
things
are
evolve.
already all the way here.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a dangerous part of the new playoff, though. Because I just feel like there's a lot of – I thought it was nuts when you guys – not you guys, but any Iowa fan was saying playoff or bust this last summer. I just it's like, where in the hell is that coming from? But if you're like that, like if it gets to the point where – because the playoff kind of did this, right? When they got to 4, how many SEC coaches got fired because they just couldn't make a playoff? It's going to be accentuated now. God, these bowl games are just going to seem so worthless, and they already kind of did.
The bowl games are taking they've already taken a huge step back over the last 5 years.
Think about what they're going to be like
this
now.
year. It's going to be the biggest step yet.
Iowa State could theoretically go 11-1, not make the playoff, and it seems like a disappointment because you're in some bowl game that nobody right?
Yeah.
Which I think that would be the wrong way for a fan to look at it, and I would hope that the fans go and do the bowl thing because you can still have a lot of fun, even if you're not in the playoff. Like, it can still be a great experience. But that's the one thing I don't like about the playoff, right? Because, like, that would be the best season in Iowa State history, bar none. No question.
I had already moved into bowl games not meaning anything. I was already there, even before the playoffs, so I don't care. Like, whether it's, maybe if it's like the Rose Bowl, maybe you get excited for that. Bowl games are exhibitions.
Well, the Rose Bowl's now the playoff. Like, there is no, right?
That's true. You can't go to the Rose Bowl without.
You can't go to the Rose Bowl unless you're in the playoff.
So remember before the season when
It's
you
like
called
the
me
Alamo Bowl. What does that mean now?
No,
Like, that
Van
used to be
Wink,
a
no,
big-
it doesn't work this
no,
way. You can't
no,
come in.
no.
And it doesn't work that way.
Let me make a point. Remember when you called me an idiot for saying 9-3 would be a disappointing season?
Yes.
I'm in the same boat as you where I'm saying bowl games don't matter anymore.
They don't.
So why would a 9-3 season make me happy?
Because when is the last time Iowa State won?
That's
We're
when
talking
the,
before the season started.
Yeah.
When's the last time Iowa State won 9 games in a season? Had they ever done it? Maybe once?
They did it with
I'm talking
McCarney, but that's counting.
No.
Bowl
Yeah,
game.
I'm talking regular season.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Maybe 100 years ago.
They didn't even play 9 games 100 years ago.
The season to me is the regular season, conference championship, playoff. The bowl game as far as I'm concerned, is not even part of the season. It should not even count. Like Iowa State's road winning streak got cut off because they lost to Memphis in a bowl game at Memphis last year. That should not count.
I hope that the media, less the media, but like more the fans, because I saw a commenter in here. I don't know if he was an Iowa or an Iowa State fan. He was like, "F no, I'm not going to pay my money to go to a bowl game." There's a little bit of that too, that they did this to themselves with all these guys just skipping out and right like. It's just really hard for me, who is managing a media company, to do the expense to go to send 3 people to some mid-level bowl game to cover it like we have for the last 15 years, because they've been minimized so much, not only by the players, but you even go to these things, like they're not funded the way that they used to be. There's not as much access as there used to be. We're getting into a conversation that we weren't planning on, but it is interesting to me. Once you put the playoff or bust thing on it, like I wonder if it'll affect attendance.
And you busted early. Like, you busted halfway through the season. And, yeah, I think Kinnick's going to look full, and most people will be there for a 2:30 game against Northwestern.
Absolutely. And they should.
Weather's still probably going to be nice.
I would encourage
But I think
people
it's
to
going to
go.
be a really apathetic atmosphere. I do. And I think that the boos will come hard and fast.
Do you want him to boo McNamara?
If McNamara doesn't play well. Now, look at this tweet from Pat Anger, former Hawkeye great, who is now took over for Eddie Podolak in the booth with Gary Dolphin. And he tweeted earlier this week, "Took me a lot of years to realize it's a lot more impactful to lift someone up than it is to push them away. Think about the positive impact it would have on QB1 if 70,000 plus Iowa fans showered him with love and appreciation as soon as he stepped onto the field on Saturday." I like the idea. And
it's a great idea.
Pat's a former player. And
good guy. We like him.
He has a much different view of this. We are just media members and fans. We've never put on the black and gold, the Tiger Hawk helmet. We're fans. And here's what the fans have done. They have paid Cade McNamara a lot of money. They have waited for him to get right. Well, he just needs to get up to speed. All these injuries, you get up to speed. Well, now we're 7 games in, and this season's over, and he's still a bad quarterback. So, I mean, you can say, yeah, I mean, if it's all roses, sure. I mean, if it's a Hallmark movie, yeah. But in real life, that's not going to happen. I will say this. I don't think when the Boo Birds come, if they come, I don't think that when fans boo, they are necessarily all booing the player, Cade McNamara. It's just like with Spencer Petras. They are booing the situation that this coaching staff has put them in and the decisions that this coaching staff is or is not making. Booing Cade McNamara coming off the field after a 3rd down incompletion so that those coaches know, Kirk Ferentz in particular, they want to see Brendan Sullivan. They want to see a change being made. That's why, if I'm booing, that's what I'm booing about. I'm not booing at the kid. It is not personal. But the fact that he's the first one in a Hawkeye uniform to make all this money.
And it was very public, too.
Extremely.
Yeah.
And to
the
be
coach
that
got
far
suspended.
away from being successful.
Yeah.
It is a wide gulf from where he is and what he's been to what he was supposed to be.
It's really interesting, too, in the NIL era, the way it is now, because it won't be this way once the suit goes through and it's handled by the universities. But with these collectives, we really have no idea. There's no transparency as to how much they're making. Like, it's just rumors. We don't know who's making these decisions because it's not supposed to be the coaches, even though
it is. It still is.
But this is why I'm going to keep pounding the pavement on this. When this new era hits, there has to be transparency because I feel really bad for Brad Heinrich right now. what the hell is that guy supposed to do?
He's in a bad situation right now.
Like, he's just raising money. He just stepped up to the plate and did something that no other fans
And
were
all
gonna
he
do.
did was what people in that football building told him to do.
Correct.
It's not like Brad Heinrichs is saying, you know what, there's Cade McNamara is available. I've got $500,000 in our Swarm Collective that I'm going to give him, okay? No, that's not how it happens. He does what they tell him to do, and now they're in a situation that fans aren't going to want to give money anymore because it just hasn't worked out at all. So it's a lose-lose.
That's the problem, and it there's got to be like in the NFL, if your GM sucks and they sign bad players and draft well, the GM gets fired, and then it gives the fan base some like, oh, okay, we're starting fresh, got all this new blood. Well, I mean, Iowa hasn't had a new coach in what, 50 years? I'm obviously exaggerating, right? Like it's difficult for Brad right now to pound the pavement on, and he had the whole Proctor thing,
right? So what are
right?
you selling
it's
fans
hard.
on? How are you
really
getting
hard.
Iowa fans to open up their pocketbook to give money to go either keep athletes or go out and get them in the transfer portal? I mean, it's a much easier time right now for him getting money for women's basketball than it is the football team. I'm not saying women's basketball is getting more money. I'm just saying it's a lot easier right now, I guarantee, for him to get money for that program. Because it's all, it's sold out crowds, such a great feeling about that entire program, where football and men's basketball too, it's not. And fans aren't going to want to, if you thought it was hard before getting money, after this, it's going to be even harder.
It's hard enough to get the fans to fund the players after they've funded everything else for forever. And now when the pitch was, hey, give the money and it'll make the team better, and then the team's not better and you don't get those results. He's in a tough spot.
And you see someone else getting immediate results like Signetti at Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Instant results.
With the freaking Ohio quarterback that beat Iowa State last year, right? Like, it's not like they went out and got Cade McNamara, like a name, right? Like they got this guy from down the street. He was a good MAC player, and he's hurt now. Maybe not the best example.
This McNamara thing is partially fans' faults too, like me, because they knew how much we wanted something like that, a big splash to be made in the transfer portal. They
especially
knew
at that position
that would go over really well right away. Remember how excited everybody was?
Wow,
and then they sold out the season. That wasn't going to happen if they didn't go out and get Cade McNamara. Promise.
We are presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery. We are in the Channel Seed Studios. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Full Court Press, all the great restaurants in the Des Moines area. Get on out to the Iowa Tap Room. Go and drink yourself a boot at the Hessen House. If you're an Iowa State fan, you have a bye week. It's a great weekend to get out and do some stuff. Stop by my favorite spot, Fong's Pizza, downtown. You can go to the Royal Mile and drink one of those motor oil beers that Hassel gave me on my 22nd birthday.
Belgian beer, baby. God, that's good.
Also want to give a shout out to our friends at Freedom Tire.
Freedom Tire.com.
Locally owned and operated all over the Des Moines Metro. Going to get the wife's Traverse in there in the next couple of weeks. It needs service. We're going to Freedom Tire in Altoona. Easy decision for me and my family.
Can I ask you a question?
Ask away.
Is that lube behind you? Like a thing of lotion? What is that?
That's a lava lamp.
It looks like a thing of lube. Maybe
It's about
some hot wax.
Have you ever seen it when the lava light finally explodes?
No.
Have you ever seen it?
What are you talking about?
You've never seen it when a lava light, because the lava's it's kind of stiff, and then it becomes like liquid.
Yeah, what do you do with that lava lamp at night?
I Put it on in the background. I thought you guys may like it tonight.
It's really setting.
I'm going to get me one of those lava lamps when I'm out.
My wife
peeping.
hates that thing.
Aren't the lava lamps from like the 90s? Isn't that something?
Oh, they're from like the 70s, bro.
So why do you have it like prominently posted up in your backdrop? It's the Ames helmet and your.
You're not even gonna believe it. It's because I'm not done with my office yet. Like I don't have my backdrop done. It's kind of been a busy few months, but here we are. It's a joke, I know. It's really embarrassing, and I had the lava light over there, and I just decided tonight to plug it in because I wanted to ooh and ah the audience.
You've oohed and ahhed, all right.
What's this playoff? Brett Yormark, 3 teams, Big 12. Will you run through this for me?
Well, I saw...
So Brett Yormark was talking at Media Days about how he thinks the Big 12's going to have 3 teams in the playoff. And then let's walk through this here.
What are you talking about?
Well, there's a lot going on with this college football play. Brett Yormark was quoted.
He said that there's going to be 3 Big 12 teams.
He thinks that if right now that the Big 12 would get 3 teams.
Oh, my God.
And it's all propaganda.
I saw
then there's these other people that have like their rankings and all this stuff, and the Big 12 has 3 teams in there. So now I have all these people tweeting at me, telling me that I'm a Big 12 hater, which is the most hilarious thing in the world.
I saw a tweet from Locked On Big 12.
Okay.
That said that there's a scenario where, and I think we ran through it on our last show, how Iowa State could be 11-0 going into the Kansas State game, lose that, and you might not even make the Big 12 championship game. So there's a scenario where Iowa State goes 11-1, misses the Big 12 championship game. Kansas State and BYU play in the Big 12 championship game. Kansas State beats BYU, and so now you have 3 teams that have 1 loss. And the Locked On Big 12 guys said, well, there you go. That would be a lock. We'd have 3 teams in the college football playoff. What are these guys smoking? They think just because everybody has 1 loss, they're going to get in?
Matt,
No.
I'm going to send you a tweet that some guy sent me and wanted my opinion on. And it was trying to be like a gotcha moment to me, and it just really didn't change my opinion on anything.
Here's what Yormark had to say, by the way, at Big
let's
12
see what
Media
the
Days.
commish.
Well, I mean, if you look at the AP top 25,
Which doesn't matter. AP does not matter.
So, listen, we got a fighting chance, and that's the goal. The goal was always to have multiple teams in the CFP, and I think, right now we're pacing towards that.
He didn't say 3, did he?
I think the
I thought he
question
just
that
said
was
multiple
posed in
teams.
was multiple teams.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
look. If
I'm gonna
you've
send
got
you this other
2
tweet, Matt.
undefeated teams in the Big 12 championship game, you
They
do
should
have
get-
a
They
shot.
should get 2. Yeah, that's the scenario.
But
That
I've
is
got
the
news
scenario.
for you. There are all kinds of other scenarios that would shut all of that out. You know that 3 Big 10 teams could finish the season 12-0. Indiana, Penn State, and Oregon. None of them play each other. They could all finish 12-0, and one of those teams is going to miss the Big Ten championship game. There's another scenario where 4 Big Ten teams could end up with 1 loss. So, I mean, they're all in. Like, they're all in over a 1-loss Big 12.
Here's the tweet. I don't know who this guy is, but he's a BYU math guy or one of these data guys. And he says, according to resume rankings, the Big 12 has 3 teams in a 12-team playoff right now compared to just 1 for the ACC.
Where the hell's he getting that?
And
Resume rankings.
This is where I started getting tagged. People need to stop propagating this narrative that the Big 12 is a 1-bid league and would be lucky to get a second team in. Sure, there's a lot of football left to be played, but so do all the other teams and leagues, right? And that's my problem. I'm not propagating anything. I'm telling you what I think the committee will do.
And I guarantee you the
it's
committee
rigged.
is going to value the top teams in the ACC because they're brands more than the teams in the Big 12.
So according to this guy, here's his rankings or whatever. Ohio State's resume is worse than Kansas State and Iowa State. Do you think that they would put a one-loss Iowa State or Kansas State in above a one-loss Ohio State? Give me a break. Like,
No.
in that, it's critical thinking here. There would be nobody happier if the Big 12 got multiple teams in than me. And I think
would love to see it too.
Yeah, I think it'd be great for the sport. Like, I don't want this to be a 2-league playoff for the most part. I just don't trust these people at the end of the process. I don't trust them.
No.
I mean, if it were that cut and dry, Florida State should have gotten in last year. They went 13-0 and they won their conference and they did everything you asked them to do. I know about the injury, but their resume, according to this, like their resume should have had them in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't, though, because the committee, it's a television product. They don't want to put a team with a third-string quarterback that, you know, it's going to get its ass kicked in there. And they made the right call. But quit coming at me and calling me a Big 12 hater.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm telling you, I don't trust these people. The whole thing is rigged. And I hope they prove me wrong. I don't believe that they will.
I hope so, too. I hope that it's more balanced than I think it's going to be and you think it's going to be. And I feel like we know that it's going to be. There is no scenario that I would feel comfortable about right now. Like if you told me Iowa State goes 12-0, BYU goes 12-0, and BYU beats Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game, I'm not going to say Iowa State's 100% getting in at 12-1.
Especially with all these SEC teams losing. That doesn't help.
And a lot of these teams don't play each other.
5 SEC teams with 1-2 losses. Like, that does not help.
Like the Indianas and Penn States and Oregon's not playing each other. They can all just, win out. It's just there are so many variables. Yes, 12 teams seems like there should be enough spots in there to allow for a one-loss Big 12 team to get an at-large. It feels like that. But in reality, there's 5 auto bids already. There's a team coming from the group of 5, no matter what. You've got Army and Navy, who are both perfect. They could end up causing problems down the road if, let's say, Boise wins out and either Army or Navy wins out. That could be trouble. Then you have Notre Dame, who doesn't have to ever play any road games.
Oh, God, the Notre
and even
Dame
though they
bias
lost in Northern Illinois, if they win out,
if
they're
they're
going to be in.
11-1, they'll be in. Guaranteed they'll be in. Do you think that they would put an 11-1 Notre Dame with a loss to Northern Illinois in over, let's say the Big 12? Let's say the Big 12 has 3 one-loss teams.
So the scenario we just talked about.
Yeah. They would put Notre Dame in over any of those one-loss Big 12s, wouldn't they?
I would think so, yes. I would think that they would. And they would say, well, they've got wins over Army and Navy. They were ranked at the time. It's Notre Dame. They're going to get in.
I think it's possible the Big 12 gets 2 in. I do. I think it's possible.
Yes, it's possible.
Yeah,
we laid it out before the season even started.
Yep.
If what has to happen to have a real shot here is for a team to go undefeated in the regular season and then lose in the Big 12 championship game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's the way. But even then, I still don't think it's 100% guaranteed.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, especially the way the thing's setting up now. And maybe I'll be proven wrong, and I'll eat crow. I think with all these SEC teams having a loss and the outline that you laid out for us with the Big Ten, I don't think it's a positive. Because if you get all these brands that are fighting for an at-large, and man, I don't trust these people. I don't.
And then
if
you
you've
have all
listened
these
to me
other
for 15
teams.
years, I've never trusted them. I trust them even less now than I did then.
When that happens, Chris, we're seeing it right now in the SEC. When that happens, all of a sudden you have multiple teams that have beaten in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You have a Vanderbilt that is now ranked, and you can say, well, we have a win over Vanderbilt, and we played Missouri down to the wire. They're in the top 20.
The PR thing has already started. This gives Sankey 3 full weeks to just ramp up hey, we're so good, we're just beating each other up because all of our teams are so good, not like those other shit leagues. Right? I mean, it's already happening. And there's this other thing too, and this is what I reject. The whole quit propagating that the Big 12 is a one-bid league. It's your fault. Or maybe we're doing the right thing by calling out the corruption before it happens.
And maybe steering you in the right direction when you're watching BYU, Oklahoma State as a Cyclone fan, and you're cheering for BYU because you want multiple bids from the Big 12. That's not how you should be. You should be cheering against BYU because there's a very real possibility that you're going to be left out of the Big 12 championship game if you don't beat Kansas State the last game of the season.
Yeah,
because of BYU.
I'm in this for Iowa State, and anything that could happen for the Big 12 after that, because it does benefit Iowa State financially, great. But my goal is for the Cyclones to be able to play for a championship.
We still have to W and L.
Jeez,
the remainder of the season.
After dark shows are just we can't control ourselves.
Well, look, we still have overtime.
We do have overtime.
I don't know how you want to adjust the rest of the show.
Let's do. How about we do the wins and losses in overtime?
All right,
you like that?
Yeah,
you like that?
I love it.
Real quick, I want to talk about this Jamie Pollard letter.
Oh,
we got to do the letter really quick, and then we'll get to the locks of the week from Centurion Stone of Iowa, and we're gonna get up. It's game day with our preview of the upcoming weekend. For those of you who don't know about it, Jamie Pollard wrote a letter. I believe this went out to season ticket holders and also the student section. Essentially, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can read it. It's on the screen right now. Somebody posted it on Cyclone Fanatic, and I have confirmed that it was real. Basically, there's been a lot of really super drunk people. I'm paraphrasing. Physical altercations in the lots. Quote, very unpleasant fan experiences in almost all cases. I take this as a, hey, police yourselves. Let's not let anything bad happen here. There were some instances where fans were, I believe, in the student section throwing things on Saturday
we saw
night.
Videos of it. Jacqueline had an incredible video during Mr. Brightside, and it was fans, they had water bottles, and they're going crazy, tossing them up in the air, celebrating. I mean, I didn't think that was that big a deal. I think we know what this stems from, and it's what happened at Texas with fans actually throwing stuff onto the field and the school getting fined. But Pollard, I'll just read a couple of sentences. During the past several games, we've unfortunately experienced a significant increase in rude, arrogant, and belligerent behavior by some of our fans. This behavior is typically the result of individuals being intoxicated. All right. You can curb some of this. This is going to sound crazy, but you can curb some of this by selling alcohol inside the stadium and stop letting people go out at halftime and binge drink in the parking lot at their tailgates. You do those two things, I promise you, some of this stuff will come down. Because in almost every instance, when a football stadium or a university starts allowing alcohol sales inside a venue, situations like this, arrests, altercations, people throwing stuff, people puking all over the place, that goes down when you start selling alcohol in the stadium.
And your theory is because they'll not chug like 6 beers right before they come in.
It's not a theory, it's a fact.
No, but that's what you're saying, because they're like, I can just buy one in the stadium.
Yes. Now, look, some people will still go wild.
Yeah,
okay, they're gonna binge drink all day, and then they're gonna drink more in the stadium. But the majority of the people will take it a little bit easier before they come in, knowing that they can get a beer or two at the concession stand. They don't have to sneak in straight whiskey to be drinking during the game. They'll go get an Ames lager, which is much lighter, at the concession stand. And my God,
the third quarter thing drives me nuts.
And it's not just the third quarter anymore, Williams. The late second quarter was bad during that game too. There were a lot of people that went out late in that second quarter and didn't come back until midway through the third quarter.
This has been a thing forever.
I just think it's a bad look.
It's very...
And it's not fair to the players.
I understood why they did it 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
I got it.
Shitty program.
You had to beg people to come to these games. Maybe not 20 years ago. That's not 25, 30 years ago. The pre-McCarney getting it going. Like, you had to beg people to go to these games. The tailgating, the party had to be the main event because the football game sure as hell wasn't going to be. Disrespectful to the players. I would borderline call it like it's not big time. It's not a big time move to let your fans go outside and binge drink. So I know that they've talked about it, and I don't know why it hasn't happened. I think that's one thing that they've kind of like, okay, we'll still let you guys have this. You've always had it. But I think it's time. Like, I think with what Campbell's done and is doing, it's a disadvantage. I would love for somebody to look up the amount of quick touchdowns Iowa State football has given up to start the third quarter over the last 10 years, because I think there's a lot of them off of recent. And I don't know if it's because the stadium's half empty, but, man, it sure feels like it.
Yeah.
It sure feels like it to me.
I didn't really know this was still a thing for Iowa State until I came to call a game there last year. Obviously, I covered a lot of Iowa State games when I was working there from 2007 to 2012. And, that was during a time, Gene Chiswick's team was going 2-10 and 3-9. Or you had Paul Rhodes coming in and starting to turn things around a little bit, but the program not nearly at the level that it is right now.
And
the
you
crowds
never
weren't
felt
nearly
like,
as great as they are right now.
You
The
never
end zone
felt like
wasn't
they
done.
were that good. You just kind of felt like, we.
But I remember turning to Matt because he was my little stat boy for the call of that game in the third quarter.
Daddy
and being
Van
like,
Winks.
what the hell is going on here? This is a huge game against Texas. And all of these gaping holes in the stands. And he's like, yeah, they still let people go out during halftime. And
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
And I promise you, even if you didn't stop letting people go out to the parking lot, if you just sold beer in the stadium, I promise there would be fewer people going way out to their cars.
I'll ask around and see why they still do it.
What were you going to say, Van Winks? You seemed like you had.
I don't know the reasoning behind it, but I don't understand it.
There's a lot of gaping holes in that Sukup South end zone too after the half.
Yeah,
I noticed that too.
Those people are paying money.
They are. You're right.
I don't care if they're.
Though.
It's not a good look. I don't care if they're paying. I hate the idea that these fans are going out all the way out to their cars, shotgunning
by the time
drinks,
you get there, halftime's
stuffing
half
some
over.
food in your mouth, and running back into the stadium. Who the hell does that? I have never heard of that anywhere else.
I've done it. But
I'm
in
saying
my time
who does
as a
it?
fan, I've done that.
Major
at Iowa
programs
State games.
around the country. Who does?
I don't know.
I've never heard of anyone else doing that. I'm sure
I don't know
there's
if you
somebody else that does it, but I've never been there.
If this statement tells me anything, though, it's that we are still a long ways from beer being sold in the stadium.
Oh yeah, that ain't happening.
Long ways.
Well, here's what would happen though. Let's just say that this was the first year they started selling beer at Jack Trice, and this same thing happened. Jamie would say, "This is why we didn't sell beer, and I'm going to take it away." That's what would happen. But look, all of these schools that start allowing alcohol, a lot of them are very surprised when they see the arrests go down, the altercations go down. That is what happens. It doesn't make sense on the surface until you start thinking about it. Put yourself in that situation. All these times you've been out there, well, we're not going to be able to have a drink for 4 hours. What are we going to do? We're either going to sneak in a flask or we're going to just shotgun a bunch of shit right now to try to keep the buzz going.
Oh, yeah. Apparently Purdue does it, says Andrew. which that would be a
Purdue,
similar,
not a serious football program.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't surprise me. I don't mind Jamie sending out this email. I actually applaud it because that Texas Bloom made a great point on our Cyclone Fanatic show today. Texas got fined $250,000.
Yeah,
for the situation the other day.
That was so much different and so much worse.
But
I didn't see any bottle thrown on the field. I didn't see anything get on that field.
I didn't either, and I didn't even know that this was a thing, frankly, until this guy posted it on Cyclone Fanatic, and then Bloom told me about it this morning. But he's trying to get ahead of it, which I don't blame him. But I agree with you. And funny thing is, we were going to talk about the third quarter thing before this letter came out today. Like this was on our list. It drives me nuts. It always has.
Me too.
It drove me nuts like in the Rhodes era. I never understood it when the team was starting to get better. But
look, I get it if it's a game against Alcorn State and you're up by 30 and you're thinking, I'll go out to the car. I don't know if I'll come back in for the second half. But a game like the other night against UCF that was so close and you're perfect, you're a top 10 team.
I don't blame the people, though. If they're going to let you do it.
I don't blame the people as much as I blame Iowa State for allowing it to still happen.
Yeah, if they're going to let you do it and you can't have it, and this is entertainment, we all are entertained in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Some people really like to drink. And they got a cooler full of cold beer, 10-minute walk. I can go shotgun 2 of them, and I can drink another one on my way back and still see most of the third quarter. I don't blame the people if that's what they want to do, if they are allowed to do it. If they're not allowed to do it, then they're not going to make that decision because they'll put the game ahead of it.
We should be the case. We say all this knowing full well Jamie isn't going to make these changes. It's just like Kirk Ferentz with the quarterback
change. The third quarter thing, I feel like I don't know.
You think he's going to tell them they can't go out to the cars anymore?
I'm talking out of turn. I don't know
I think
what
this
Jamie
is just
will
like
do.
the quarterback situation with Ferentz.
I don't think he'll do the alcohol in the stadium thing, but I feel like the third quarter thing, if I'm Matt Campbell, I'm like, come on, can we do something about this? It puts you at a competitive disadvantage.
It does. It's just a letdown. It was a real letdown for me calling the game, and I'm just an announcer. But I get up, I get juiced. You get fired up because of the crowd, and it was a big letdown in that third quarter against Texas. So imagine how the players must feel. Why do you always act like you're surprised by that? You're such a kid.
So I'm trying to,
We're already in overtime.
Sponsor. It's overtime.
We haven't done the W&Ling of the football teams. We haven't done our top games. We haven't done our locks. And we haven't talked basketball, which I said I was going to let you talk basketball.
Did you see Aiden threatened to not do his job tonight?
What?
That his full-time job that he's paid for. Did you see Aiden's text message? Well, if you guys go too late, I'm not going to be able to post the podcast.
What time does he go to bed? Nobody goes to bed earlier than me.
Overtime is presented by our friends at Wild Rose Casinos in Clinton, Emmitsburg, and Jefferson.
Winning at Wild Rose is frighteningly fun in October. Careful, though. You're not the only one trying to get your hands on those cursed cases of cash. Play now for a shot at your share of $17,500 in cash. Playing and winning has never been more fun. And sometimes a little spooky. See Club Wild for details. Only at Wild Rose Casino and Hotel.
You'd rather be here.
Okay, these Halloween-themed ads are getting a little out of control. Have you seen the latest Hoodoo ad from Scott Zipker?
Yes, out of control.
I watched it like 5 straight times with my mouth agape last night. My mouth was
What is up with you?
Agape.
What do you keep saying?
Here, are you gonna play it, Van Winks?
Yeah.
You want it?
Yeah, let's play it. Hey, if we do the Hoodoo ad here, I don't have to do it in Instant Iowa.
It's overtime.
Hoodoo presents Instant Iowa. Here we go.
Being a single zombie isn't that bad. As a Zilf, I've had my fair share of supernatural relationships. There was Vlad, who hated mornings. The fur everywhere with Rex was a nightmare. And don't even get me started on Gary. Gary, I've been thinking about taking this to the next level. Gary, it's way easier to just get things done on my own with a little help from Hoodoo. Now I just select the bid from someone to deep clean my oven instead of dealing with Vlad's garlic drama. Or I hire someone to organize my garage because honestly, that's way easier than unclogging the shop vac. And when the fog machine breaks, I don't need Gary disappearing on me mid-repair. Hoodoo's easier than any relationship I've ever had. Whether it's everyday chores or spooky odd jobs, Hoodoo's got you covered.
Was that Zilf drinking Steeple Ridge bourbon?
Yes, she was. She was drinking Steeple Ridge as she was about to make an advance on that ghost. I don't know what she was going to do to that ghost, but that ghost got the hell out of there.
Thinking about taking this to the next level.
Oh, my God.
Well, thank you to our friends at Wild Rose Casino giving us overtime, because an hour is not enough on Thursdays for Chris and Chris with a splash of Van Winks. We need an extra 30 minutes for all this. We probably need an extra hour, to be honest with you, but that's okay. Hassel, he's barely awake right now. Like, this is real problem for Chris to do the show this. It is 9:33 Eastern.
I've got to get my tea drawn out at 8:30 tomorrow morning. So.
Hey, real quick, some love to our guy Anthony Becht, the father of Rocco.
That was great. That was a great podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, he came on CW Pod. If you guys haven't checked it out, we spent a lot of time on Rocco and Iowa State, but then I really liked hearing his philosophies, just talk football in general. And you have a stat. You have a stat you wanted to give on Rocco Becht. Let's hear it.
So Anthony talked about how good Rocco has been responding after mistakes, and how more often than not, after a bad interception, turnover, what have you, Rocco immediately flushes that and comes out and leads a successful drive. So I looked it up. He's had 13 interceptions in his Iowa State career that were at some point in that game followed by an Iowa State drive. One of the interceptions ended a game, so that was a 14th one that I didn't add in here. But of the 13 interceptions, he's responded on the very next drive with 6 touchdowns.
Wow.
On almost half of those drives after the big mistake, and a lot of these are pick sixes.
Yeah.
He comes back with a touchdown. So 13 INTs, 6 touchdowns, 2 field goals, 4 punts, and 1 end of the half. That's
good.
Extremely impressive. If you can hit it like 45 to 50% touchdown following a pick. Wow. So I heard him say that on the podcast, and I started thinking, yeah, there have been a bunch of times where he has responded right away. So I wanted to look it up, and just a couple examples. The Baylor game. Threw an interception, immediately came back with a touchdown. Arkansas State game. Interception, immediately came back with a touchdown. UCF game. One of the interceptions immediately after that was a field goal. Last year, Texas, interception to touchdown. Baylor, interception to touchdown. Oklahoma, interception to touchdown. Iowa, interception to a field goal. And even his rookie season came in mop-up duty against TCU, threw a pick 6 in that, 60-point loss to TCU back in 22 to end the season.
I forgot about
that. But right after he threw the pick 6, he led a touchdown drive. So whatever Anthony is doing with his kid, the 25, is it 26 steps? 26-step checklist. God, that's great. And he's getting all that.
That's great insight that he's sitting there giving us that checklist and like the Chad Pennington stuff. How I don't know if he's like his godfather or what, but clearly very close to Rocco and kind of as his own little quarterback coach, helping him through the mental aspect of the game. Really, really good stuff. Speaking of that, so Paul Feinbaum's, we all know who Paul Feinbaum is. Huge in SEC country, national guy.
Powell.
He got a call on his show today, and Chris, it was unbelievable how similar this call was to one that I took 2 weeks ago on Cyclone Reaction. I honestly, it sounded like the exact same guy. I had Van Winkle pull the audio to both of these.
Will you shut up? I'm trying to talk to Paul.
Hey, Vance, exactly who did you? Who is there?
My damn cat.
Oh, okay.
And so
that was today on the Paul Feinbaum show. This guy called in.
What's similar to the Charlie call?
And his cat kept interfering. And this is what happened to me a couple weeks ago on Cyclone Reaction. It just really reminded me of it. Charlie, welcome to Cyclone Reaction.
Yeah. Oh, well, hello?
Yeah, Charlie, we got you.
Yeah.
Hello?
Guys, I'm so... Shut up, kid. I've been tired of watching Iowa State football since 1982, and I realize we've had some good teams. Shut up. But
So one was a cat. The other one was a dog.
Yeah, just
Charlie and Vance. Could they be the same person?
I don't know. But I had to cut Charlie off because he was getting so aggressive towards this dog towards the end of the call. Like it got even more amped up, and just Charlie it was wild. Like this is why college football is the best sport, because you just never know what you're going to get with these call-in shows. So I know that you're like, no calls, cut these idiots off. I want to hear what Cyclone Jerry has to say about the game, right?
Well, you know, when I told my dad that we were doing Instant Iowa, the first thing he said was, "Oh, are you taking calls?" It's like, no, we're not taking calls. It's going to be the same as when we do two guys. It's the same thing. We're not taking we got comments scrolling, but we don't need calls. We don't need. Who's the Iowa guy that used to call in all the time on Sound Off?
Tommy from Des Moines.
Tommy and they all seem like the same.
If you took calls,
person.
that would take 2 hours.
Oh yeah, there's no way I'm taking calls. That's the good thing about Instant Iowa is there are no calls.
Yeah, I don't have to listen to the Tommy from Des Moines. I don't know. It's funny because Fails texted me. He was driving home the other night. He's like, "Why do you even take Cyclone Jerry anymore?" And I was like, "Because our audience, he's like a character."
Yeah.
He's called into every show I've ever done for 15 years.
Because I was listening this past weekend, and you said, Cyclone Jerry had been waiting for an hour and a half. Called in before the game even ended.
Oh, yeah. He's just ready to go. We used to have a woman named Barb who would call from the nursing home. I don't think Barb is still with us, but she would say it's Barb. And then she would say the same thing every game, and she would want my immediate prediction for the next game. And she would say, "What do the Cyclones have to do to win?" And she would hang up on me. So you just never know with these guys. And then you had Cyclone Jerry. Yeah, what? That reminded me of Charlie.
Vance.
Get up. It's game day.
Get up. It's game day. Chris Williams and Chris Hassel take a look at this week's best games. Powered by Game Day Men's Health.
Fake Bob Vanderplatt says, "I don't know, man. The calls are hilarious." The calls are hilarious when you're 7-0.
They can be hilarious.
Yeah.
But
everybody's
for
having a good
every
time.
hilarious call, there are 5 really bad ones. But to your point, I loved it when Murph and Andy would take calls on Sound Off. I thought that was the funniest
Cheeser.
part of the show because I could tell how much they hated it and how annoyed they were by the callers. And that brings me joy.
Mute your TV.
When I did radio, Ross loved taking calls. Ross, like, it was one of his favorite parts of his day to just have conversations with these people on the air, and I would be so quick to want to kick them off. But Ross would just, yeah. I met you about 14 years ago. And
hey, how you guys doing today?
Ross is that nice.
Well, we're okay. What do you want?
And then Ross would just pick fights with people too if Ross was having a bad day. All I had to do was bring up amateurism and Ed O'Bannon, and Ross would just go off for 2 hours, and then you would get all these really protective people of student athlete. Oh, and then they just fight for 2 hours. Oh, the old days.
All right. You want to get into my games?
Yeah, you have 3 really good ones, and I have average ones, so I'll let you go first.
Well, you're going to claim that I took all the good ones?
You took really good games this week.
On.
You took the good games.
You took the
2 best games.
Williams, there are 5 different ranked-on-ranked matchups this week. I took one of them. Okay?
Well, this one is this
one is not.
It's
but BYU
this
at UCF.
This is sexy.
And last I checked, UCF's a 2-point favorite now. What do you think about them apples?
Well, this is an automatic bet no matter what you think is going to happen in the game.
On UCF?
Yes. Anytime you have – they're 1-3 in the league against a team that is ranked 9th or 10th or 11th, whatever the hell they are.
11th, I think. Well, you've been fading BYU all year, so you don't need an excuse to bet against them again.
Correct, but this is not like my personal opinion on the game. This is an automatic spot. You won't win them all. It's not. There's no guarantees in any of this. Otherwise, but there's they're trying to bait money.
For what it's worth, I spoke to the biggest Central Florida fan I've ever known. His name is Brodsky. He is our graphics guru at CBS Sports HQ. Wears a UCF shirt every day, has a UCF license plate. He says that they're going to lose this game against BYU. But
Brodsky thinks so? Okay, fade.
And this was one of Pete's picks for our staff this week. I'm curious where you guys are leaning on this one.
Those are up. I put that up on the
Check it out on iowaeverywhere.com.
Thank you for that, Matt.
I in a close game, I'm going with the team that has won close games all season. So
they
got
to travel 3 time zones
in a really tight game. My next game is Texas at Vandy. Oh, Van Winks, you put the horns upside down.
I did not. What the hell?
Son of a bitch. We're going to get kicked off of YouTube now.
I did not do that.
Texas coming off their first loss at home. Vanderbilt, and they got a lot of good juju going, but they're getting like 18.5 at home in this game. I like watching Vanderbilt play. That quarterback.
Honestly, too, it's like Texas really hasn't beaten anybody.
Yeah, how good are they?
Michigan doesn't count.
Michigan's not good. Michigan's a bad team.
This, I would bet on Vanderbilt here.
I love Vanderbilt. I love them. And my third game is, this is a sneaky one for Penn State. Number 3 Penn State on the road in, as my dad says, Wisconsin. He puts a T on the end of it. Wisconsin doesn't have a great home atmosphere during the day. But at night, give those students a chance to lube up their pipes all day long against a big-time team. That place is going to be jumping, and I think Wisconsin is going to knock them off. They've outscored their last 3 opponents by 101 points. 117-16, they've outscored their last 3 opponents. They finally got that air raid thing going. Give me the Badgers.
Dude, where are those people at on Luke Fickell? Are they still hot for Luke?
I think they're coming around now. If they can win this game,
needs a big marquee win.
Needs it. Great. I agree. He needs this one.
Yeah. And then they get the Hawks next week, right?
They do.
Got to go to Kinnick next week.
Yep.
All right, I'll give you my 3. Friday night, baby. Let's go.
Yes. I thought about picking this one, Williams, but I figured I can't pick a game that there's no chance I'm going to be able to stay up and watch all.
Playoff ramifications for the Cyclones.
It starts at 10:30 Eastern.
Oh, this will be great.
Boise at UNLV.
My Clorinda Cardinals, hometown team, playing in the playoffs tomorrow night. Going to watch that on the stream, pop it on over to this. Bada boom, got myself a Friday night. Boise at UNLV. And
Ashton Genty has run all over everybody, including Oregon.
Shouldn't
UNLV's got a really good rush defense.
Shouldn't we be rooting for UNLV?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, because you want to just eliminate the chance of Boise getting
ranked over you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. You're better with that than me. That's what I thought. LSU at Texas A&M is quietly sexy.
Yeah. You know, these are the only 2 unbeaten teams in SEC play.
Man, that A&M coach has done a hell of a job.
Mike Elko.
And then Kelly, like, it feels like his teams are, this is becoming a thing with him where they start slow and then they just ramp up. Cincinnati at Colorado after dark in the Big 12. 2 3-1 teams. That you feel differently about it. Like, I mean, does Cincinnati feel like a 3-1 team to most people? Probably not. You know, they had that win at Central Florida, but I'm putting a little asterisk by it because they were in the middle of that quarterback switch at the time. It was a weird game. They had just had all those guys leave. I think they caught them on a good time. I kind of like where you're going here. Let's do our Centurion Stone Cold Locks of the Week, shall we?
Yes. Because, Williams, I'm going to lock that game right there.
I know you are.
Oh,
Look
I'm
at
going
that.
to
That's called a segue right there, baby. Centurion Stone of Iowa, locations in Omaha. So then Centurion Stone of Nebraska over there because that's a different state. And then, of course, the showroom in Des Moines. Matty Van Winks, you've seen my stone fireplace I hired these sons of guns to do. Shout out to Miller Time. Nathan Miller, he's the guy really running the show over there at Centurion Stone of Iowa. I bumped into him on Saturday. Wanted to give him some love here on the show. Hassel, I am just atrocious. This is going to turn around. I'm going to have like a 3-0 week at some point.
You're only 5 games behind me. You're due.
I'm bad right now.
I'm right at 500. I've had back-to-back 1 and 2 weeks. But this week I only felt okay about a couple of games. I only had 2 plays.
We had to do them really early this week, too, which was kind of hard.
My first play is the game you just talked about. How is Colorado only a 4.5-point favorite? Travis Hunter's playing in the game. It's in Boulder. Cincinnati's been a pretty good story, but are they good enough to go out there and play the Buffs within a field goal? I don't know. I like Colorado. Minus
Only
4.5.
interesting part of this is the Cincinnati defense we're all very familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
It's Tyson Vite over there. That defense is built to stop offenses like Colorado. I don't know if they have the manpower. I haven't seen them play enough. They'll have a good game plan because of that.
My other play is Indiana -7 against Washington. This is in Bloomington. What the hell was that noise, Van Winks?
It's like a Halloween
falling asleep at the wheel.
Jeez.
That was the old Locked music.
Now, Rourke is out for this game. He had thumb surgery. They're hoping to get him back next week. This week, they are 7-point. I think it's gone down to 6.5 in some places, but we've got it at Indiana -7 against Washington. I'm making this play, one, because the Indiana backup did get some good play in that Nebraska game last week. 2, Cignetti is just a hell of a coach, and he's got the whole week to get that kid ready to play in this game.
Your dad doesn't like that guy.
You know what? Cignetti looks like Fales. He looks like Andy Fales. I don't know if they've done that sound-off lookalike yet, but he looks like Andy.
Your dad was just cursing him up and down last weekend in the group chat. Doesn't like his antics.
My dad doesn't like anything anymore, except apparently Iowa State football, which he claims he's all on board now because he's tired of getting kicked in the nuts.
That is reverse psychology at its finest. He's not rooting for Iowa State.
Look at it. He kind of looks like Andy.
He does look like Fales.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
But 3,
wow.
The reason I like this the most is because I just don't think Washington is any good. Look what Iowa did to them. Just look at what Iowa did to them.
So
Iowa scored 40 points. What's Indiana going to do?
See, I'm being very reactionary, and this is probably not great, but I am taking UCF -1.5 against BYU. And again, but I know I'm fading BYU, and I've been wrong. there's a football reason for this, and then there's a. Are you flipping me off? Did you just flip me off?
No, I had some pink eye in the corner of my eye, and I flicked it. That's my index
I think
finger.
Central Florida is going to be a better team in the second half of the season with their quarterback change. It feels like they've got some stuff figured out. A lot of those guys transferred, and it felt like the only thing that worries me about this game is that they blew their wad last week in Ames.
They had 2 pick sixes in that game and still lost.
BYU's traveling 3 time zones. This fishy line. I'm just going
I think it's only 2 time zones. I think they're mountain time.
Yeah, whatever. 2 time zones. I'm going to take Michigan State plus 4.5 at Michigan. Another reaction.
I really wanted to, but I don't know what Michigan State is. Like, I don't.
Well, I'll tell you what I think they might be, and this would be great for Iowa. They get the tar beat out of them by really good teams, and then against teams that are like them, they either win or they're pretty good. And Michigan sucks.
Yeah, Michigan's not good. We know that.
Rivalry game. I want the points.
Give me the points, okay.
I just want the point. Like, Michigan sucks.
They do.
Michigan may not even go to a bowl game if they don't get moving. Like, just wrong. It may be. I don't know. I don't look at what Michigan State's resume is, though. Like, they've played well against teams that are like them. And Michigan is not a step above them. Like, they may win the game, but, like, they suck. How bad is USC?
Oh, my God.
Good God.
They're 1-4 in the Big Ten.
And then my other one, really.
I like this one, too. I like this one.
Going under
this is nasty.
Under 37, Utah and Houston.
This is Big Ten West nasty.
Oh, you've got, and we've all seen Houston, and we all know what that offense is. Utah plays pretty good defense, even despite everything going on there right now. So can Houston get into double digits against Utah? I don't know.
Can Utah get into double digits against Houston? I don't know.
I love this play. This is my favorite play of the year.
This might be 9-6.
Under 37, Utah and Houston.
Love it.
Yeah, sicko.
And that line moved, right? That's going up and up.
It did go up because when I sent it to Van Winkle, it was 36.5, and then it jumped to 37, and I was like, "Oh, let's get our people the better number."
Wait, is it up higher than 37 right now?
I haven't checked since.
I just checked it. Still at 37.
Oh, okay.
As of Wednesday night.
Of the ones we have here, I think I like your Colorado and my Utah one the best. Yeah. And again, like the Central Florida one, it is simply like. They do this to you. They trap the public because anybody who's like, well, they're ranked 10th. Why are they an underdog to a team that's 1-3? And everybody bets on the.
And if UCF wins the game, you're going to have everybody calling it an upset, even though it wouldn't be.
No, it wouldn't be. Overtime here, we are presented by our friends at the Wild Rose Casinos all throughout the great state of Iowa. Let's do a cheers to the freaking weekend on a Wednesday night, but we're going to cheers to the freaking weekend with Steeple Ridge Bourbon.
Cheers to the freaking weekend. Let's raise our glass of Steeple Ridge Bourbon.
I got the big trick-or-treat night here in – can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're just seeing some Steeple Ridge.
We're just watching the Steeple Ridge Bourbon. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What are you doing all weekend? So legit, Cameron, I'm going to go to Clarinda Thursday night, watch some high school volleyball, go Cardinals, district final, big match. Coming back, got a Halloween party for the 9-year-old. I'm supposed to sing Monster Mash for the kids. We'll see what happens.
We did the mash.
I've got Saturday we're going to get up.
Monster Mash.
I'm going to decorate the house, Halloween stuff, get the fire pit ready. I'm going to make some moonshine. It's going to be a hell of a weekend.
You got a lot of plans there, pal.
Bye week, man, the best.
Well,
what are you going to do?
I don't have any plans. The weather's turned nice here. I've got the sweater on. I'll be watching Iowa Northwestern and then doing Instant Iowa immediately after. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you seem just thrilled.
You know, I teased two and only two things on this show when I said that we were going live.
It's literally the title of the show too.
We will W&L the rest of the season for Iowa and Iowa State, and we'll talk basketball.
Let's do it.
We're not talking basketball.
That's okay. I think most people would expect you to be trolling them with that anyways. We have until 9:15 for Aiden to do his job. It is 8:57.
This is
pull these schedules
gonna be
up.
our longest episode ever, I think.
Let's start with Iowa because I just talked about how excited I am for that Northwestern game this week.
Well, we did the point spreads last Thursday too, so keep those in mind. They're not going to change significantly, although I would be surprised right now if they would be a favorite over Wisconsin. You want me to pull that up?
If you want, yeah.
I'll get that graphic ready.
I can hardly keep my eyes open.
Oh, my God.
So everything was going according to plan with Iowa's schedule until last week with the loss at Michigan State. So I figured since we're now off track on our preseason predictions for both teams, might as well redo them now.
Iowa would be a 1-point underdog now against Wisconsin. It shifted that much.
What was it when you did it?
They were going to be about a 3-point favorite.
Okay.
So it shifted quite a bit because they keep winning, so it's shifting two ways, not just one.
Okay. So I've got them beating Northwestern this week, and I'm sure you do too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And Northwestern, Iowa's favored by, 15, something like that? Moving on to Wisconsin. In a toss-up game, I'm going to change this pick. I had Iowa winning this game. I think they're going to lose to Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's got something figured out, and they are on their way to having a bounce-back season.
I agree with you.
And they're going to outscore Iowa in that game.
So we each have them at 5-4.
5-4 overall, 3-3 in the Big Ten. Going to UCLA on a Friday night. Both of us picked them before the season to lose this game.
By the way, real quick, there's a look-ahead line on DraftKings to the Wisconsin game.
What is it?
Iowa -3.
That's what it was. You can still play that?
Yep, it's live right now.
Don't play that because you're not getting value. Don't play that. Well, not that anybody would.
What do you mean? If you want Wisconsin, you're playing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great point. Yeah, I was thinking like for an Iowa fan. Yeah, it's actually a great point.
I'm going to change my UCLA pick. I think they'll on a short week against a bad team they'll win in a half-empty stadium against UCLA. Are you going to change your pick there too?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I will.
Because we both had them losing that game.
I think they'll lose to Maryland.
Wow. Losing at Maryland is every bit as bad as UCLA. Maryland got smoked at home by Northwestern.
They just beat USC.
I know USC sucks. They're 1-4.
Then they had the whole cross-country road trip thing. I think they'll lose one of those two games. I guess I'll put it that way. I think they'll lose
the two road games?
Yeah, one of those two.
Okay, there is a bye week between UCLA and Maryland.
Okay. Maybe they'll lose to UCLA then. I feel like they will lose one of those games and then probably kind of feels like they might beat Nebraska now.
Yeah, Nebraska, I don't know, man. I thought they would be better than they are, and maybe they'll show this week that they're not nearly as bad as they were last week against Indiana, but I'm going to say Iowa finishes strong and beats Nebraska and finishes up 8-4 overall this season.
So you have them winning both of those road games?
Yes. I have them, their only loss the rest of the way to Wisconsin.
I'll put them at 7-5.
So you have them losing to Wisconsin in one of the road games?
One of the road games, yeah.
Okay.
One of the road games or Nebraska, honestly. It's all kind of...
That would put them under the total of 7.5 going into the season.
Which was like the lock of the year for
It
Bill
seemed
Steele.
like it. Yeah.
Remember that?
I thought it was a lock of the year, too.
I don't have a lot of faith that their offense is going to be anything other than what it is right now.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at all those games as if Cade McNamara is the starting quarterback.
Well, my whole thing is just like, is the defense just going to magically be what it has been? Probably not. Like, you kind of are what you are on October 23rd, right?
If the defense is as bad as it was against Michigan State, they're only going to win 6, maybe 7 games. I think the defense will be
I don't think it'll be that bad, but I don't it's clearly not what it was.
Not even close.
So
some of the defensive numbers, in fact, are atrocious in like the 100s.
That's why it's hard for me to be like, yeah, they're only going to lose one more time.
Okay, here's a couple stats for you on the defense. All right, 43rd in total defense, which keep in mind that they are consistently number 1. 55th in yards per play. And 112th in red zone touchdown percentage. That's the Iowa defense this season. Let's move on to Iowa State. We had them. I had them at 9-3 before the season. Okay?
Yes, I did too.
So I actually had them at this point with only 1 loss, and I think you did too.
Yeah, we both did.
1 loss to
and then
West
we had
Virginia.
them losing to Utah.
I had them losing to Utah and Kansas State to close out the year and finish 9-3. I believe you had them splitting those and finishing 10-2.
And then I thought that they would lose somewhere along the way with UCF, Texas Tech, or Kansas was the 3 that I had.
All right, so let's start with Texas Tech next weekend after the bye as
that's a win.
A 2-touchdown favorite?
That's a win. Yeah, I think Iowa State's offense can name its score against that team. They have a really terrible defense. They are a touchdown underdog to TCU this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think Iowa State will be able to run all over them if they want, throw all over them, do whatever the hell they want, and put up 45 points against Texas Tech. Then you've got the game at Arrowhead against Kansas.
This is trickier than most people think.
I think this is trickier than Texas Tech.
Yes.
It might be trickier than Cincinnati.
Completely agree. Just because I want to see how Kansas performs this weekend in Manhattan. They're a 10-point underdog. It did feel like Leopold, who's a good coach, got their attention a little bit after their bye. They had a good performance, but it was just against Houston.
Yeah.
But their offense looked a lot better. They have an elite quarterback when he wants to be. This game got trickier. I still think Iowa State's the better team. I will put them to win that game, but
What's your look-ahead line for that now? Wasn't it like 14? You had it 12.
Let me see what it is right now.
I think, aren't people also overblowing the fact that Iowa State's going to have a bunch of fans there? It's at Arrowhead. It's a huge, they're going to have probably 30,000 fans, 20,000 fans that come down for that.
That did get a little bit smaller. That would be about 10 right now.
Well,
so Kansas they gained a little bit in the rating. And Iowa State dropped a few.
I don't think it's the fact that Iowa State's going to have 70,000 fans there, because that's not going to happen. It's the fact that Iowa State's going to have many more fans there than Kansas will. I think that's.
But is that going to make that much of a difference?
I don't think. I mean, it's still a road
people
game.
have looked at this as if it's a Kansas home game, and it's really not going to be. Iowa State has to travel for it. But so does Kansas. They have to go from Lawrence to Kansas City, and Iowa State's going to have more fans. So I do think Iowa State has the advantage there in that aspect too, and I think it might be closer than the 10, but I'm going to take Iowa State to win.
I think they have a better chance to lose this game than they do to Utah.
Really? The Utah game still scares me with
Their
that
offense
atmosphere.
is terrible.
It is, but
I mean,
give that Wilson kid a few more weeks. I don't know.
The cheapest
they
ticket
fired their offensive coordinator this week, so
yeah.
The cheapest
is that
ticket
a
right
crazy
now to that
statement?
Kansas
Did
game?
I just make a hot take? Is that what that was?
What?
But they looked awful last week. Utah, horrible.
Will you stop interrupting Van Winks? He's
I'm
trying
sorry,
to say
that's
something.
a dumb point. I was just going to say the cheapest ticket right now for that Kansas game is $72. That's ridiculous. They're price
Don't buy them yet. They're price gouging. Just buy it the day of.
Oh my God. Okay, so we have them both. We have them winning that game though, right? Against Kansas.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're 9-0 coming home for Cincinnati.
That's a win.
I agree. I think Cincinnati's a good story. Fine team. I don't think they're at the level of Iowa State or Kansas State or even a Colorado.
They have 6-6, 7-5 written all over them.
So now you're 10-0.
I think they beat Utah. I think they're beating Utah. I think Utah is we saw what happened when Rising went out last year with this team.
Yeah.
And the Whittingham, like firing the OC right now doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Right? Like,
yes. I saw all I needed to see from that Utah team last week, late night on Saturday night.
And, I mean, somewhat similar to what you were saying, like, their fans were like Big 12 title or bust.
Oh, yeah. Well, they thought they were
they're
going to come
done.
in and roll
like,
everybody.
They're done.
Yeah. So, Williams, we've got them 11-0 coming home against Kansas State. Now, what's interesting here is this could be for all the Tostitos, or it could mean next to nothing. There's a chance Iowa State and Kansas State have already clinched a spot to play each other again the following week for a Big 12 championship. There's a chance.
Because UCF's going to help this weekend when they beat BYU.
Mm-hmm. I think if there's any team in this conference that's as good or better than Iowa State, I think it's Kansas State. And I think the perfect season comes to an end in the last game of the regular season against K-State, and Iowa State finishes 11-1.
Here's a little something for you. Two teams, at least the one I use, exact same power rating, identical. Iowa State and Kansas State right now.
So it would just be a home field advantage?
So Iowa State would
-3?
Theoretically be -3. I doubt they would open it at that because everybody would take Kansas State. All the smart money would.
So if Kansas
State... If you put it at a field goal, they would all... So it would probably be at like -2 would be my projection.
If Kansas State, BYU, and Iowa State were all 11-1.
I think Kansas State... If Kansas State beats Iowa State, I believe the tiebreakers right now would say that it would be Kansas State, BYU in the Big 12 championship game. Now, that can change.
So Kansas State played BYU
and
lost this year.
Mm-hmm. But Iowa State would have played Kansas State and lost. So that's why it would be Kansas State, BYU in the conference championship game. Williams, have you made your pick for that game?
Screw it. We're going 12-0. Better quarterback. And I know Avery Johnson's, like, who would you trust more in a big situation?
It's funny. We talked about that very same question before the season. Like, where would we rank Rocco Becht in the Big 12? And I think we both said Rocco Becht over Avery Johnson.
The problem is, and you are correct here, the quarterback run game with Johnson would be terrifying for Iowa State's defense, right?
Yes. Kleiman, incredible coach.
Yeah, great coach.
Rivalry game, they're pissed about what happened last year. They are pissed.
Give me the clones.
Well, you better win because, as Jake Bren points out, Iowa State is screwed in pretty much any three-way tiebreak because the only team they play is Kansas State. Another one of the problems with these huge conferences.
So, yeah, and then, I mean...
So in that scenario, going back to the beginning of our show,
yeah,
could you get 3 Big 12 teams in?
No.
In that
Zero
scenario?
chance.
Even if
Zero
Iowa State
chance
is
that there are
11-1.
3 Big 12 teams making this playoff.
Especially if you lose to Kansas State.
I agree with Chris.
Yeah, that'd be a ranked loss.
When you go game by game, I pick Iowa State to win, but I still think the chances are they will drop one somewhere. I think, I said this, I don't think any of these Big 12 teams are going undefeated. The teams are too much alike. Even if BYU beats UCF, I don't even know who's on the rest of their schedule. I still think they'll drop one somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I didn't think UCF would come into Ames and you'd have to go on the last.
I think what's going to happen is that...
I think somebody will beat them, but I like when I go game by game, I'm picking them to win.
They're going to have that 11-0, one more win to finish a perfect season and get to the Big 12 championship game, and Kansas State's going to beat them and keep them out of the Big 12 championship game. And then who knows what happens after that.
And then you're an 11-1 Alamo Bowl team.
Matt asks if a 4-loss Alabama would get in over 1-loss Iowa State.
Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer, Matt.
Not a 4-loss Alabama.
You're telling me that Greg Sankey wouldn't push for that?
Well, of course he would, but I don't even think at this point a 3-loss Bama would get in over a 1-loss Iowa State. I don't. I think they would be so far back, it would be some other 2-loss team that would get in instead.
If Bama's loss is, well, the Vanderbilt doesn't help. Yeah.
We are.
Let's say Bama lost to Georgia.
How many times are you going to interrupt Van Winks in this show?
Shut up. I'll just shut up.
How many times?
I was just going to say, we are less than 2 weeks away from the first college football playoff ranking. So
yes, it is election night.
Day.
How about that? Election day, the first CFP rankings. And as long as Iowa State beats Texas Tech, they're going to be unbeaten going into those first rankings. How fascinating is that going to be? Because that's when we'll know. You know, you have these people doing these projections. Well, based off the AP. The AP rankings don't matter one lick. Not one lick. It's the CFP rankings. And they come out November the 5th.
By the way, I know people are just dying to know this. Liberty, undefeated Liberty, is going to lose tonight.
Liberty sucks.
Kennesaw State.
Yeah, Liberty was perfect.
Liberty.
Kennesaw State hadn't won a game.
They're 0-6.
But Liberty they're not good.
Isn't their coach that guy who was in the hospital?
Isn't their coach that guy that used to tape those Oreo cookie crumbs to his sack?
All over his nuts.
All right, let's get it. We've got 2 minutes to spare here before Aiden goes to bed and doesn't post the pod.
Joey wants a 2-hour 2 guys.
Oh, man. I'm telling
you guys, if we opened up a Patreon page, would you pay us extra for just off the cuff?
Would
30
you pay
minutes?
us extra?
Extra. Just no ads. All we're going to do is just take your unfiltered questions.
I'm so tired. I got to get to bed because I got to get up and find out how my tea is doing.
Your hair looks different.
It's flat. I flattened it.
You got a low flow shower head?
We're installing low flow shower heads.
So if they tell you that your tea's low, you're going to go to game day, right?
Yeah, then I'll go.
Good.
All these people want the Patreon page now.
What the hell is Patreon?
It's like our own OnlyFans.
You know, you can.
What would I do to a leaf on Patreon?
You can
what
tip us.
would I do?
Give us a little tip in the YouTube comments if you want.
Jesus, Van Winks.
Just the tip.
Shameless.
God.
Get the hell out of here. We'll be back on Monday. Hassel have Instant Iowa coming up on Saturday afternoon. Later.